Meals are cooked in each restaurant's kitchen, fresh every day, the signature dish being a sweet pork barbacoa burrito, enchilada style. Cafe Rio restaurants garnered a lot of attention from various investors, and Steve Stanley, the founder of Cafe Rio, is recognized for his exceptional expertise in creating food that resonates with people's cravings. And let me tell you, Cafe Rio has some of the most delicious food. All of their protein offerings are delicious, like their pork verde, but their overly sweet barbacoa is what they're famous for. And their tortillas are some of the best I've ever had. But a lot changed in December of 2004 when Bob and Kathleen Nielsen purchased the chain, which at the time had 6 restaurants. Bob was the ex-COO of Taco Bell and Burger King, and he actually named the Cheesy Crunch Gordita. As of December 2023, Cafe Rio is operating with over 150 locations across 11 states. Bob Nielsen appears to have a significant connection with Cafe Rio, being involved in its acquisition and subsequent management. So, Cafe Rio has blown up quite fast over the last 10 years, opening over 140 locations. This was set up to be a major Chipotle competitor, but it's already failing and flailing. Listen, the food is good, and good enough to go back multiple times a year, which is a winning recipe for successful fast food restaurants. The decor is clean and bright, aesthetically pleasing and fun. The problem with Cafe Rio is the service. But let's start with the lines. Cafe Rio has some of the worst designed service lines. It's set up like a Chipotle line, except they took everything that worked so well with Chipotle lines and got rid of it and replaced it with terrible ideas and systems. Here's how it works. You walk up in line. The employee asks you what you want. Let's say you order a burrito. The employee will put the tortilla on a flat top, heat it up, and then you move down the line to the next employee who will take your tortilla off the grill and put whatever fillings you want in that burrito. Sounds awesome, right? Here's the problem. The second employee is never there. So the first employee has to go back and forth from filling the burritos with what you asked for, to taking the initial order, to pulling the other tortilla off the flat top, to filling it up, to sliding it over, telling the guy what you ordered, running over, asking what you want, putting the tortilla on the flat top, grabbing the other tortilla. He has to go around circles, and it just causes chaos. This is why there's always a line at Cafe Rio, but it's never busy. There's always a line of 5 or 6 people and the line just doesn't move. Now for the employees themselves, some of the worst I've ever came across. Forget trying to rival Chipotle's consistent, well-mannered service. Cafe Rio doesn't even rival Del Taco or Burger King. It's some of the worst service I've ever had. I don't care about friendliness at a place like Cafe Rio. I would just like to get the burrito quickly and go, hence fast food. But you don't even get that. Now here's some of my personally bad experiences. I've actually never had a good experience, only had bad ones and terrible ones. The first terrible experience I had was one night I was with a friend waiting in line and the line wasn't moving. There was one employee when there should have been 3, and there was one who was moving slow, and we're standing there and finally he goes to take our order. He starts filling up our burritos, asking us what we want. We're telling him, and suddenly another employee comes up behind him with a tray of food and says, "Hey, I'm making nachos. Do you want any?" The guy stops, puts down our food, thinks about it. Do I want any? You know what? Yeah, I'll have some nachos. Me and my friend are standing there in disbelief that they made us wait that long, and now they're sitting there talking about what they're gonna eat for dinner in front of us. And then the guy goes, "What kind of meat do you want?" Let me think. You know what? I'll take chicken. The guy puts chicken on there. How about beans? You know what? And the guy takes his hand, making our food with, swipes right behind him, right by his ass. And me and my friend are in shock. Everybody in line is just in shock. What is this guy doing? He's waving his hand behind his ass like he just passed gas. And then he goes, as he's waving his hand, he goes, "I don't like beans. It gets me all bloated and it gets me all gassy and then I fart a lot." He says it out loud to his coworker in front of the whole entire line that he's serving food to. It was disgusting. And the last experience I had, and the final experience I had, I went to a Cafe Rio and there was one girl working and there was 10 people waiting. And she was by herself, getting her butt kicked, running around, she's sweating, and there's 5 employees behind her, hanging out, laughing, joking, making inappropriate jokes, laughing as loud as they can, enjoying themselves while we're all waiting. And she keeps saying like, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm supposed to get help, but I'm sorry. And finally she goes, "Excuse me, can one of you guys help me, please? Like, I need help." And they all look at her and they roll their eye. "Oh my God, I can't believe she just asked me that." And they stood there and kept going with their conversation. Then when they deemed it fit, they broke. And a couple of them went in the back, and one of the girls that works up front rolls her eyes, puts her apron on, rolling her eyes. She slowly walks up. Just her eyes are going in the back of her head. She can't believe that she's being asked to work while she's on the clock at her job. Like, what kind of world is she living in? What kind of world is this? And she walks up to me and she just stares at me. And I'm staring at her. And she's staring at me. And I'm waiting for her to say something. And she just looks at me and she's like, "Can I help you?" And I was just in shock. No, hey, sorry about that, or sorry for waiting, or here, what can I, nothing. No friendliness, no nothing. Just like, how dare you come in here? What do you want? And I was shocked. And I said, you know what? I'm good, thank you. And I walked away. I'm 2 feet away, and she leans over to her coworker and goes out loud in full volume, "What the fuck was his problem?" And I turned around and I told her, "You want to know what my problem is? Well, you have your employee working here, you have your coworker working here, and you're standing over there talking and hanging out while we're all waiting. You're being lazy, you're being disrespectful, and you're being rude. And that's what my problem is." And she stood there in shock. I thought she'd fight back a little bit, but she stood there in shock. And her coworker, who was working her butt off, said, "Sir, just tell me what burrito you want. I'll make it for you. It's on the house. Please, like, we want to make this right." I didn't want the burrito. I don't want it for free. I want to pay for the burrito and just get it in a timely manner without having to get angry, without having to get worked up. But I knew she was attempting to save the issue. She had the wherewithal to do that. So I just let it go. I took the burrito and I never came back. So the bottom line is that the culture is broken to the T. No one is watching and no one is holding anyone accountable. There is no pride for the brand. It's embarrassing. If you look at Cafe Rio's website, they're trying to grow like crazy. They want to take over Chipotle's market share. That's not happening. But with that being said, I thought maybe it's just this Cafe Rio. Maybe it's just the location I'm going to. So I looked up Cafe Rio on Yelp, and guess what? It's not just that location. Cafe Rio has an average of 2.5 Yelp stars. Just to give you a measuring stick, restaurants should have 4 stars a minimum. That's a minimum. 4.5, that means it's a good restaurant. 5 stars is almost impossible. 4 stars a minimum. When I looked up Cafe Rio online, I came across a Reddit post dated 3 years ago with the heading, "Cafe Rio has gone down in recent years." That thread had over 400 replies of people piling on about how terrible the customer service is. So why is the customer service so bad? Well, like I said, in 2004, Cafe Rio was bought out by a group of people, one of them being Bob Nielsen. Bob was a COO, so the guy who handles the training. I watched one of Bob's presentations on YouTube, and he said that when he worked at Burger King and Taco Bell as COO, he had to teach people how to smile. And honesty and communication were the keys to making sure employees were happy. Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think Bob doesn't know anything about customer service, but he does know about marketing and scaling fast food restaurants fast. Yes, he worked at Taco Bell, and yes, Taco Bell is a very successful business, but he didn't start Taco Bell. The customer service training was already in place when Bob started, so all he had to do was worry about what he did best, marketing and scaling. And when Bob took over Cafe Rio, he had to go from growing 6 restaurants to almost 140. That requires some seriously dialed in customer service training, and the proof is in the pudding. He didn't know what he was doing. When you're scaling for a profit, you're going to hit pitfalls, but never have I seen a fail as epic as this. I'll never go to Cafe Rio again, which sucks because I really like their food. Now, I'm just one person, but if this video tells you anything, it tells you that I will tell anyone that will listen how much I dislike Cafe Rio. I've been to Cafe Rio 3 times, and I've had 3 bad experiences. To put that in perspective, do you know how many bad experiences I've had at Chipotle? None. Do you know how many bad experiences I've had at McDonald's? None worth remembering. Have I had a bad experience there? I'm sure I have. I don't remember them. How many bad experiences have I had at Del Taco? A few bumpy experiences, but none that left me angry. Bottom line, these types of bad experiences are unacceptable for restaurants. They will kill a restaurant faster from the inside out than anything else. Cafe Rio has big investors with big backing, so they don't feel the ripple effects of bad service like an independently owned restaurant would. But there will be a tidal wave that hits, and when it does, it's too late. You can't fix the culture at that point. No one's gonna be able to go into 150 locations and fix all the culture. You'd almost have to replace every employee. That's why culture is so important, values are so important, training is so important, and having the right person in the training role. And Cafe Rio is a prime example of when you have the great product and you have all the money in the world, but you don't have the service. It ends up being like two magnets, and eventually they're gone. Anyway, that's all I got.